Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the international webinar on cyber law and security organized by Faculty of Law in collaboration with Institute of Cybersecurity and Law and Delhi School of Public Policy and Governance, Institute of Eminence, University of Delhi. In contemporary times, we have been talking a lot about Delta variant, Omicron variant of coronavirus. But now let's take a moment and not forget about the computer virus and the issues of the virtual world, the world which has in fact become so wider during the pandemic. Without further delay, let me begin with an introduction of esteemed and learned panel who have graced this webinar. At the outset, I take this opportunity to invite Professor Dr. Usha Tandon Ma'am, Dean and Head of Department of Faculty of Law, to deliver a welcome address. Ma'am, Dr. Professor Usha Tandon is an eminent professor of environmental law, population law, gender justice, and family law. With the teaching experience of more than 30 years, she is a well-known scholar for her work on human development, focusing on environmental protection and women empowerment.
I think, Himani, that's enough. I will have the pleasure to introduce the guest. Thank you. Thank you very much, Himani.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
In any case, we are the host, and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
A very good evening. Well, I'm very delighted to welcome you all on this occasion that's going to witness the deliberations on the threats to cybersecurity and the possible defense mechanism containing the legal framework. I'm honored to welcome the chief guest of the occasion, Honorable Mr. Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, the chairperson of NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. Before chairing the NHRC, as a judge of the Supreme Court of India, Sir has delivered many landmark judgments. Some of those judgments have been included in the Delhi University Law Faculty's course curriculum, sir. We provide to our students what is known as, in the teaching, this methodology in the case material. And briefly, I would like to mention one of them. One of the judgments in which is, as a matter of fact, very popular among all of us, especially those who are teaching the family law. And that is a judgment in which you have put at rest the inconsistent decisions of Supreme Court itself. Some of the judgments the Supreme Court was saying, it was on the 2005 Amendment to Hindu Succession Act. So we were having the judgments from the Supreme Court telling us that this 2005 amendment is having retrospective operation. Then we were having the judgments from the Supreme Court itself telling us that it is having prospective operation. And that is how the judgment came in August 2020, wherein your lordship has put at rest this controversy that it is having retroactive operation. So that's a very landmark judgment for us, sir. And it's really very beautifully and convincingly written, because we criticize many judgments which gave rulings, maybe a path-breaking ruling. But when we come to the reasoning, we do not find it that convincing. We find it very, each and everything which was issued, which was raised shows what they are. So it's very popular with us. I just want to convey to you, sir, Vinita Sharma's judgment, which I have just not talked about. Anyway, I have deviated a little bit from this. Now coming to the human rights issues, when we talk of the threats to cybersecurity, it has a very close relations with the human rights. As a matter of fact, I found many research has been done how the threats to the cybersecurity violate the human rights of the persons, especially the human rights of women and the girl. Therefore, we could not have a better person to chair this session than Honorable Justice Anand Kumar Mishra. And sir, a very hearty welcome to you, sir. Well, it's my privilege to welcome Honorable Justice Ajay Bhanot from Allahabad High Court. I was just browsing some of the latest judgments of Justice Bhanot and came across one of the very interesting judgment which is given hardly 2 months before in December, wherein Allahabad High Court speaking through Justice Bhanot has ruled that this videos of indecent videos of children, if one is circulating the indecent videos of children and then blackmailing for money or the gain, it's a serious offense. So we really look forward to know more on such issues from you, sir. And I extend a very warm welcome to you on behalf of all of us. I'm delighted to welcome Professor Pandit. I hope Professor M.K. Pandit is with us. He's the CEO of IOE, that is an institution of eminence, which has been created by the University of Delhi. Our distinguished guest, Dr. A.P. Maheshwari, former Director General from BPRD. We all legal persons know Bureau for Public Research and Development. Dr. Ashish Srivastava from Monash University. I hope it's quite early there, maybe 7 or so.
No, actually, it's 10:30 here in the night.
Oh,
okay. So it's not bad, actually.
Okay. So, but in any case, this is more comfortable for us.
No, that's totally fine.
Time is you, and we really appreciate that in those odd hours you're joining us. Our another distinguished guest, Dr. Deepak Talwar, National Security Officer from Microsoft. Sunaina Kanojia, OST from Institute of Cyber Security Law, Delhi University itself, my colleagues, Dr. Ashutosh, and the whole team who has been working for the organization of this webinar, and dear participants. Friends, if one is to ask you, what type of crime is fast growing? Perhaps the answer would be cyber attacks. According to one of these studies, which is done by University of Maryland, a cyber attack occurs every 39 seconds at a global level. If I talk about India, according to one of the data released by India's Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT, more than 11.5 lakh incidents of cyber attacks were tracked and reported in 2021. So these are only those which are reported. Actual, in Indian context, we can multiply it to know what is the reality. But it's not only the frequency and the numbers, but the intensity, which is also a matter of concern with these kind of cyber attacks, which made one of the stakeholders like Berkshire Hathaway to say that cybercrime is a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear weapons. Now, if I talk about this particular era in which we have been living since December 2019, I'm talking about the ongoing this pandemic, coronavirus pandemic, we find that it has created a very unique confluence of circumstances which have given these cyber criminals a very wide base of the potential victims. Not going to many examples. If I just give you 2 examples, okay, one example, very famous of that Zoom bomb, because Most of the jurisdictions have resorted to lockdowns, and but thanks to the technology, the work was going on. All of us were connected online. We were having our Zoom meetings, whether it is professional or it is the personals. And then we found that the hackers who would have access to these meetings, and then profanities, etc., etc. You are all aware of, maybe better. Surely better aware of than me. And the hackers have also tried with the WHO organizations and the centers, etc., etc. So this menace calls for webinars like this to find possible solutions, especially the legal ones, to effectively deal with this growing. So with this, I conclude my address by welcoming each one of you who is connected with this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful opening address. Now I would like to introduce our first speaker for the evening, for the seminar. It is Dr. Deepak Talwar, sir. Dr. Deepak Talwar is a national security officer for Microsoft India. At Microsoft India, he is responsible for security initiatives as a trusted advisor to the government, enterprises, industry partners to shape up their cybersecurity strategy, support policies, and future regulations in the country. His key domain expertise is cloud computing, information security, cybersecurity risk assessment, mitigation plans, regulatory and GRC processes. Prior to joining Microsoft, he had spent 20 years with a wide cross-section of core technology and leadership roles at Semantic Software's Ernst & Young, McAfee, Trend Micro, Cisco Academies. He also holds key positions in the industry as a chairman of ASSOCHAM Security Council, governing member of Cyber Law and Security at University of Delhi, member of Education Advisory Board at various institutions and universities in India, and also an advisor to several startups. Mr. Talwar has voluntarily mentored hundreds of students, professionals, academia, entrepreneurs, and selective CISOs community to support them shape their careers and skill building. So now I would invite Sir Dr. Deepak Talwar to actually enlighten us with his knowledge. Sir.
I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. And now I realize that I need to shorten my bio so that it saves time. The world is digital and it can be read a lot on the screen. Is the first confession I'm going to do with the senior officials, as well as from the dignitaries from law and enforcement. And this is another part to also confess that it is easy to be at home and do the virtual seminars, but that does not change the transition of what we are missing to be at together in the room. I can personally vouch and say that being a digital savvy, digital native individual from corporate and even within us, still I feel the empathy of typing less, speaking less in the world which we are living, right? I'm sure many of us who are not on the screens, they are also typing. Some of them might be transacting online, and some of them might be doing something with the smart gadgets more than what we are talking right now. That's the world which we are living in, other than thousands of slides which we have seen how digital transformation has happened. The best example to start of digital transformation is in front of us. Welcome to this virtual world where we are connected, and very soon seeing Microsoft and many other. Welcome to the world of metaverse, where we all will have our own replications in a way, not just from the gaming side, not just from the technology side, but it may disrupt the way how we train individuals, the way how we handle academia, most importantly, the way how we do agriculture, farming, and more than that, how we are going to see healthcare and others. Everybody might be wondering, why are we starting and talking about all the transformation while the topic is cybersecurity? You cannot do a digital transformation without secure transformation, and vice versa. Now, few of the examples, Professor Usha Tandon just mentioned about how the records are being there. I thought I'll have few slides, but I'll avoid. I prepared some beautiful slides to share, but I'm not too sure if that can still be shown, just for sake of everyone. But I don't get a share option. Never mind. So in short, when we talk about security, most of the time there are concerns, and more than that, there are fear when any security professional like all of us get into any of the rooms. I think the other side of the world by default believes, same like a doctor, that no, I will get some worrisome activity, I might not be healthy, something wrong is happening, and there is a fear factor which comes into, and that is true as well. Every security is also related to cyber crime. It is of more than vulnerability in terms of physical crime. And just to give you some numbers, not to scare, but obviously by 2025, the prediction of losing the money, which is the first part I would like to highlight, is close to 10.5 trillion annually. That's the cost we are paying to the world because of cyber crime. And the number also is alarming when we say 6 trillion is the cybercrime cost to the world in 2021 alone. The multiplier is pretty high. As far as us as Microsoft being globally present, having a worldwide where we provide threat intelligence to various governments, including Government of India, those threat signals which we see for daily security threat signal is 24 trillion. When we say endpoint, our systems is around 9 billion endpoint threats are being blocked. The second word, which is very important, you all will agree, we are living in a digital world. So obviously we all have digital identity. Our physical identity is still with us, but digital identity is maybe, I don't know how many places it is circulating while you and me are talking, right? 31 billion identity threats have been blocked, and 32 billion email threats. I'm sure all of us have encountered email phishing and threats where you click and you lose not just some money, not just security, and many more things I'll talk about. We all agree to one more word, while all who are following digital media, physical newspapers, magazines, information reports, that ransomware is a menace, is causing a problem more than the normal ransom for human beings. Because the ransomware who is asking how to pay, the crypto ways, where is the root cause, how it happened. While we do that, there is always a negotiation of losing maybe a nation state activity. It may be as vulnerable, as serious as losing the power of the country or the states. And these all are examples. These all are not mimicking. These are not just the fancy numbers. These all are realities which we all are part of. Great. That's good to know, right? But I wanted to start my thought process of next 2 minutes. Let's not think what I said on data and values to be alarming, of security being a scary feeling. That was the purposeful number I gave as a talk, to make sure that can we think security as an enabler. It is a business enabler. It is not a blocker. As long as it is utilized in the right ethical way, with the right intent, right, as well as with the right utilization of technology. You can ask all the senior officials. I can see Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, sir, Justice Ajay Banot, various distinguished leaders from the fraternity, where even sitting at home, when we are doing work from home, I at least don't have a separate device to do my corporate work. I'm sure you all have logged in, not to a very separate device or a smartphone, which only does my working model. Not possible, right? Even when there was no pandemic and work from home, still it was not possible. Keeping those things in mind, I'm sure we all agree that what we are working is creating a lot of data, a lot of myths related to cloud, a lot of myths where my information is stored, thanks to Government of India to look into data regime or data protection bill. And at the same time, we will have National Cybersecurity Strategy for the country. We already have an enacted IT Act by Ministry of IT and various national entities who are working. Now we have Internet of Things with consumers policies in discussions. We have Niti Aayog and distinguished entities which talks about how we make sure artificial intelligence is regulated. How much is regulated? How much we should stop them is a trade-off, the right word, versus innovation. Every global universities, every local universities, every research talks about there has to be a balanced approach. For example, I may utilize the data to understand how well a patient can get, recovered by having the right way of analytics, by using artificial intelligence, by using recognitions, facial recognition and all, if it is done in responsible way, right? The time I do it unresponsible way, unethical way, the same technologies can be exploited, right? That's point number 2. With that, cybersecurity as a mission for organizations is not security. For all these students, distinguished other guests, that it is all about security, compliance, identity, and can we combine that to look as a holistic way. We can't live with the world of silo, otherwise somewhere it is attacked, whether that attack is having a data breach for which some company has to pay recovery amount or maybe penalties, right, is a cost of data protection laws and regulation. A lot has been related. The last piece, which is very important, is in pandemic and even post pandemics, unfortunately, many lost jobs. There are new disruptions. The work from home created lots of new jobs because of technology, thanks to technology throughout the years and decades. But there is one specific domain or community where the jobs are growing with the gap is cybersecurity. 3.5 million gaps. And I am one vocalist who talks about women empowerment to get sustainability, to get into technologies to be created for everyone, not for few. Technology is most important for non-tech people. Tech people can still do that. And women empowerment and women's to be in cybersecurity is something I'm pretty passionate about, as well as filling the gap. Bridging the skilling gap is very, very important. That is one part. The last piece for students and other members, security specialization is as big as you pick up a topic like data privacy and you can spend your life, you can earn millions of dollars, you can earn respect, you can contribute to community. All can be done just by one subject. What I mean is the time has come for specialization and super specialization. It is same like a medical fraternity that I will like to go to a doctor, but I will definitely find out, are you a specialist? Are you masters into that? It is vulnerable to us, but that's a reality that we look for a specialization. Indeed, a pleasure to be with you all. It's a great opportunity. The world is open to secure our data. World is open to look into regulatory aspects which are coming up. The world is open to get into cybersecurity. But all in all, it is also very important to contribute back. We all own in this digital transformation, a lot can be said. A lot can be solved by technology. So not everything you need to do on yourself. But yes, today the crime is not only financial, it is nation state crimes. It can cause interborder tensions. It asks for hacktivists, the political influence, and it can be opportunistic like insider threats. And the threats, very simply put, can be phishing, social engineering, supply chain attacks, denial of service, and many tech things, which I can speak to the students, fraternity and all. This world in technology is moving to a world which I'm going to let it leave my virtual diocese. Technically, logically, strategically, we need to come to a zero trust model. It's an architecture. Every organization, community, industry, academia, government, all looking into zero trust model. It's a journey. It's not a product, right? Where you build upon and say never trust, always verify. That means everybody should be trusted. I will be validated by Microsoft whether I'm inside or outside in. That's called verify explicitly. Assume breach is the second principle of zero trust. Means you need to understand you are in COVID. Then only you will realize what to create. Wear mask or not, what medicine to take, what not to do. Is similar analogy, a very great analogy between COVID and the cyber community. And the third piece with verify explicitly, assume breach is least privilege. I should get the privilege of system, data, devices, information, or social communication, at least privilege, whatever is desired, whatever is required. The more privileges I have, the more vulnerable I'll be. Thank you to the team for the opportunity to be part of this community. I would like to be a great contributor. When I say great means, greatness comes from you all, that you give me the options, and I'll make sure I stand tall in front and make the disruptions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Each and every word of what you said was truly enriching. And moving forward, our next speaker is Dr. Ashish Srivastav. So Dr. Srivastav's research area is law and technology. He completed his Bachelor of Science, LLB, and diploma in cyber law from India. His PhD, though, is from Monash University in the area of electronic signatures, which is published as a book by Springer. He has published several articles in the area of IT law in journals such as Information Technology and People, Journal of Business Law, Common Law World Review, Rutgers Computer and Technology Law Review, and Computer Law and Security Review. Dr. Srivastav has more than 10 years of experience in teaching commercial law and IT law to business students at Monash Business School. His research and supervision interests include e-signature, cybersecurity, e-governance, e-crimes, and legal issues in cyberbullying and hazing, which in India we also know as ragging. With that, I would like to invite Sir to speak.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my slides. And whatever Deepak Talwar sir has said, he said in a very nice way, in a very broad way. I will just give you some specifics about some of the cyber attacks that has taken place in the last few years in US, especially in the US. And it has also affected Australia as well. So one of so starting with, this is something which I
maybe Ashish, if you can help maximize your screen from the right. I don't know if it is for me or for everyone.
On the, okay, just a sec. Go on full screen then.
Yeah, just on the view, on the top view, and then let's do screen. Or maybe on the right corner there is a window pane.
Is it working now?
Not yet. Can we go in the view on the top icon view and say full screen?
In
your slide, in your slides.
Okay.
Yes, view.
And then we go full screen. I think you can go here.
Okay, your icon is not there. Don't worry. Just can you go on the right? On the same slide, there are 4 icons on the rightmost corner where it is written 66% zoom. Next, there is an icon.
Okay.
Just click on that icon.
Yeah. Can this?
Not on this.
No, okay.
The left
got
one.
it.
The left one. Next to it.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
It's working?
I don't know if it is working for me. That's fine. I'm sorry, but looks like.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I think
we can see that. We can see that.
Okay. So I think I'm so used to Zoom. I'm sorry, I'm not used to other platforms. That's why I'm not familiar. So coming back to this slide, that recently I saw this news that in 2021, I think the Asia Pacific region has the highest number of cyber attacks. And globally, as Deepak Talwar sir was saying, that ransomware payouts and cyber attacks have increased. And these are the figures that you can see on the screen. It is 1.55 million in the United States, 1.34 million in the European Union, Middle East and Africa, but the highest is 2.35 million in the Asia Pacific region. So going to the next slide, which we are talking is about Equifax cyber attack, which took place in 2017. And Equifax is a credit rating agency in the US. And what they do is they actually collect information from various sources of individuals, and then they process that information, and that information is actually bought by governments and non-government organizations. For example, if you want to take a loan, your credit history is checked based on all the information that Equifax provides to that. And for that service, that organization pays some amount of money. So in this case, what happened was that there was human error involved as well as technical error involved. There was a security flaw, and the technicians or the IT administrators of Equifax were told to apply a patch, but they failed to do that, and there was a vulnerability in the system. And thereafter, what happened is, although they ran some security scans and security checks, the scans were unable to detect that vulnerability. So on one hand, there was a human error involved. On the other hand, there was a technical error involved. And because of which personal data of 143 million subscribers, name, address, date of birth, social security number, and 209,000 credit card numbers were stolen. Luckily, there was no ransom demand, but this showed that if there is a technical failure as well as human error, then cybersecurity will be breached. So there should be, but there should be some kind of foolproof security measure if there is some kind of error on part of the individual or on part of the technology. Then in that case, a breach can take place. So what happened in this case? Now, there are two bodies in the US, that is the Federal Trade Commission and Bureau of Consumer Finance Protection. Now, Federal Trade Commission said that they can only come into the picture after the breach has taken place. What they said, that we don't have a supervisory role with regard to credit rating agencies. Once the breach has taken place, we can enforce that. And as far as Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission is about, it says that it prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices in or affecting commerce. With regard to supervisory authorities, it was Bureau of Consumer Finance Protection. Now, who was involved in the attack? In February 2020, almost 3 years later, the Department of Justice in the US, they charged 4 members of the Chinese military with the attack. So this was a very well-known cybersecurity attack, which was.
Excuse me, sir. Pardon me, sir. But there is some problem, sir, that we are not able to see the exact slide, which is, sir. So for that, what you can do is minimize the full screen, and then what you can do is click on the small slide which is there on the left, which we can see. Yes.
Can you see now?
Yes, sir. Yes, and now we can see.
Sorry about that.
No, sir. So it's completely fine, sir.
Okay. So,
yes, sir.
So now this was my slide earlier, which I was talking about Equifax. I'm very sorry about that. And it was a 143 million personal data of subscribers, that is name, social security number, as well as 209,000 people's credit card numbers were stolen. But luckily, there was no ransomware demand for that breach, because China. If on the next slide, if you see that FBI has, not FBI, Department of Justice has formally charged 4 members of the Chinese military attack. Maybe the reason of this attack was they wanted to see whether it's vulnerable or not, whether they can penetrate into the system or not. But there was no such demand for ransomware. Perhaps state actors were involved. Perhaps there was no individual or no private organizations involved that wanted to make money out of that attack. But moving on to Colonial Pipeline, again, this happened last year. And in this case, if you remember, if you would have seen the news on the East Coast, there was shortage of fuel, and the Colonial Pipeline supplies 45% of fuel to East Coast of USA, and that the whole system was shut down. And in this case, hackers did demand a ransom, and the CEO of the organization, Mr. Joseph Blunt, he agreed, and he said that we are ready to pay ransom, and $4.4 million was paid in the form of Bitcoin. And why he did say, he he said that I think I have done the right thing because we were unsure how badly the cyber attack has breached the courier system and how long it will take to bring the pipeline back. So he said that the payment has been made. I was aware of it, and it was my decision that 4.4 million in Bitcoin should be paid so that the system can come back to operation. But the important thing in this case is that Colonial Pipeline paid that 4.4 million with the assistance of the FBI through the use that Bitcoin was paid. And later on, the FBI was able to retrieve that Bitcoin, though it did not disclose how it obtained that. So in this case, ransomware was paid 4.4 million, but FBI was able to recover that money. With regard to the law in US, as far as ransomware payments is concerned, there is no comprehensive law in the US. That is, I'm trying to say at a country level, but some states have their own law. And like California, Texas, Michigan, they have their cyber extortion laws that may cover or discourage ransomware payments. Now, as far as US Department of Treasury, they say that our guidelines are that ransomware payments are violation of its rules, but there was no such thing where we say it's illegal as such. And moving on to the next cyber attack, which was again last year with JBS Foods. JBS is a Brazilian company that is involved in processing of meat in North America, South America, Australia. And what happened is the whole supply chain of meat was stopped because of a cyber attack on the system. Hacker demanded ransom for unlocking the system. In this case, 11 million US dollars were paid once again in Bitcoin, and the decision was made by the CEO. And the CEO said that this was very difficult decision for me and for the company, but I had no other choice, but we had to do it. FBI later on said that the attack was by hackers group in Russia known as Revil and Sodinokivi, and it was an attack from a different country. As far as law is concerned, if we look into the law of Australia, there was a recent report by the Cybersecurity Industry Advisory Committee, which said that ransomware payments is clear, that their advice is do not pay. However, at the same time in that report, they said that ransomware payment is generally not illegal. So there's no law which says that ransomware payment is illegal. It may be illegal under the Criminal Code Act of Australia under section 400.3. Why they said that no ransomware payment should be made? One of the reasons that they gave was that there's no guarantee that paying that ransom money will reduce the threat to your network and can make you vulnerable, and it can also make you vulnerable to future attacks. So as far as law is concerned with regard to ransomware payments, there is no such specific law either in US at the US level, there are at state levels, or in Australia. There are laws, there are provisions which can be tweaked, it can be taken into consideration somehow to say, yes, this applies to ransomware, but there is no specific law with regard to ransomware payment. Now, moving on one step towards what if this breach has taken place. And there, if we look into a recent, I think the Hindu newspaper, which says that 3/4 of organizations in India have been hit by ransomware threat in 2021. And India is like 76% of Indian organizations have suffered some kind of ransomware in 2021. Japan was 61%, Singapore was 64%, and Australia was 67%. So India is worst in the APEC region as far as ransomware threats are concerned. Very quickly, I will just take you through what is the scheme with regard to if a threat has taken place in Australia or if a data has been breached in Australia. Australia has a new law called Notifiable Data Breach Scheme, where if a data has been breached, it is mandatory on part of certain organizations to inform that to the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, as well as to the individuals whose data has been breached. And for that, the law says that if whether it's an Australian government agency, not-for-profit organizations, or private sector having a turnover of more than $3 million, and other agencies like credit rating agencies, credit providers, tax file number recipients, they are within this scheme. And if it is breached, then in that case, they have to inform the OAIC. And this diagram shows that any entity, if there is a data breach and which is likely to result in serious harm to an individual, then in that case, that entity must notify the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner. And what it says is whether if there is an unauthorized access or unauthorized disclosure, or where information is lost and a reasonable person thinks that it's a serious harm. So the definition of serious harm has also been provided in law. Then in that case, it is the duty or mandatory on part of the entity to report to the Office of Australian Information Commissioner with the identity and contact details and description of the data breach and the kind of information that has been affected. And they have to also investigate within 30 days at their own level. And so, and they should also inform the individual whose data has been breached. If there are a large number of individuals where they can't contact them individually, then they should publish the statement on their website. If they don't do these things, then there is a penalty of $2.22 million for body corporates and up to $440,000 in case of individuals. So any failure to make a notification would result in this kind of penalty. Very quickly, I just went through India. I was looking into some of the data breaches in India, and apparently there was a report in November 2021 that India is number 3 in data breaches after US and Iran. And you can see on the screen some of the data breaches that has taken place in the last 1 year. Mr. Talwar can maybe shed some more light onto it. You can see Domino's, Air India 4.5 million, Domino's 180 million, MobiKwik 110 million records, UP's Upstock 255 million. It's not only private organizations, police exam database has also been leaked. So there has been a lot of data breaches, and it depends upon how the data protection law that comes that is being drafted at the moment, what the data protection law does to help protect data breaches as well as ransomware attacks in India. I think with that, I leave it, and I think thank you very much for giving me time, and happy to discuss if there's any other, anybody wants to ask any question, or later on we can discuss about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So that was extremely detailed, insightful, and educational presentation all at the same time. With that, we move on to our next guest and speaker for the evening. Our next speaker is Dr. Anand Prakash Maheshwari. So Dr. Anand Prakash Maheshwari is an IPS officer of the 1984 batch, Uttar Pradesh cadre. His professional career as a soldier and as a policeman culminated as the head of the largest paramilitary force in the world, the Central Reserve Police Force. Post-retirement, he was appointed as the advisor to Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry and an alumnus of Sri Ram College of Commerce. Sir post-graduated as MBA, ACS and ACWA before getting inducted into the IPS. He later on, during his service, completed his PhD in sociology on the subject management of communal violence, self-conflict resolution. Dr. Maheshwari has done specializations in a range of subjects that include leadership, interpersonal relationship, human rights, communal harmony, besides police operations from reputed institutions that include London Business School, IIM Ahmedabad, and the National Police Academy, Hyderabad. In addition, he has rich experience in diverse policing domains, which range from counterinsurgency, homeland security, crisis management, correctional administration, and community policing to border management. So, without further ado, I would like to call upon Dr. Anand Prakash Maheshwari sir to enlighten us.
Good evening and my greetings to all. I'm happy and feel privileged to be part of this deliberation. As discussed by all the experts, the life has shifted to the cyber platforms. The data is life and data is security. And now we are talking of the data sovereignty. And when we talk in the security, we talk of cyber warfare, the information warfare, because in public services, as identified by the earlier speaker, tomorrow any irrigation dam may go out of control, even any airlines may come to a stop, even the public services, anything can be done with the data. And since the life has come to that, everybody is on the cyber platform. And as rightly said, the security is either 100% or it's zero. There is nothing in between. That rule applies to the cyber security as well. We go into the basics just for the sake of repetition, that when we talk of the security, then security breach, what are the vulnerabilities? Either we have the out of date software, or we have a weak password, we access the compromised websites, or there is a purported malware attack. For that, we have the systems. When we do the security analysis, the cyber security risk management, starting with hardware analysis, because there's a Internet of Things, then digital identity, the cyber habits. The most important is the cyber habit. And there's been, lot of emphasis, and that we also, as security people, have been emphasizing. I mean, the MHA, who is the nodal agency, I'll come to that later. The vulnerabilities are also from the cloud, because the lots of data in the cloud is scattered over so many countries. And because of the lack of a homogeneous law at the international level, and we are depending largely on the multilateral agreements which we have, which the MHA is the nodal agencies, but all are not on the same page. And there are lots of procedural difficulties. The protocols have to be developed, which have to be acceptable and stand the test of law. These are some of the problems which are coming. Then data traffic, another thing. So what we are talking in terms of security infrastructure today, but the problem with the technology is that it is self-subversive. At no point of time we can reach a finality that we are fully secured. It is as rightly said, it's a journey. Because if we find a technology to secure ourselves, the adversary will, find a new way to tarnish it. So it's a dynamic process. Detection is the best prevention, as they say traditionally, in case of any crime. That applies here also. And therefore, I appreciate when you say that in Australia, it has been onus on everybody, because it is everybody's responsibility, should be the responsibility to report the cybercrime, because otherwise we cannot reach who are the perpetrators and how they are perpetrating the system, how they are attacking the system. So the responsibility on the people to report the data breach. And as said by the speakers, that we are into the formation of the new protection, this data protection bill, and how it comes is very crucial and important. And the important is also the right to, in fact, the investigation agencies should also have a right to hack somebody's system somewhere, because otherwise how do we go and find out that what is happening behind? This is another issue which is being discussed, that the security agencies, whether they have a right to access remotely the various systems. A lot of debate has to go into it, and lots of consensus at global level, because it is not a local thing. It is a crime, a breach, security breach, which can take place anywhere in the globe. There's a global convergence more so after the COVID, and even the technology and the markets have they come together. Everything is being done on cyber platform. So because of this convergence, globalization of the law is the important thing. And there it comes the diplomatic alliances between the countries, and even the police agencies who are into the cyber investigation. These are the domains which become important. The most important thing is the digital identity. And that is one area in which lots of education is needed. So I will recommend that we should also start educating people right from schools, educating civil people and everybody, because anybody who is not security conscious and faces a breach in that data, then it creates a problems for others also. So it's a collective responsibility, and that is where we stand today. Now, as I say that the cyber security is everybody's responsibility, and therefore that should be. When we investigate, I was heading Bureau of Police Research and Development, and that time we were also doing the capacity building. I must confess that the police forces, though many of them don't have the full knowledge of how the chain of evidence and what exactly the cyber crime is. In fact, long back, not very long back, 3-4 years back, when we conducted a survey, then we found that only 30% people in police agencies actually knew what is a cyber crime. And even out of that, only 30% people knew how to collect evidence once a cyber crime takes place. That was about 3-4 years back. We have come a long way ahead. But then unless we admit, it is not criticizing, but unless we admit where we stand, then we cannot go ahead. And similarly, I was heading this agency, then even the Supreme Court approached Bureau of Police Research and Development and in educating various judicial officers also, starting from how to work on taking evidence on the video platforms, right from there to security breach and the cyber education. So we have come a long way, but still a lot of capacity building needs to be done. And for that, the police department has been going into all types of this, and we have been taking help of the cyber experts. And this brings it to the focus that we need a synergy. No, not a single agency can do it, because there are lots of technicalities. So we take help of students from IIT, we take help from various other experts who are the cyber experts. So all have to come together. So there has to be, because there are certain legal protocols with the police as a police officer has to done, but he may not be a technical expert. And similarly, certain legalities arise in collecting the evidence. Certain protocols have to be observed, otherwise the case is likely to fail. And that is where we stand today, that despite so much of what we have been talking about cybercrime, I don't think many of the people have been punished for cybercrime in India or the successful prosecution. That is another fact which we have today. So all the agencies have to, in the synergy between various agencies, and we should not feel shy of. Rather, there should be increasing participation between the experts, the judiciary, and the police agencies together, which is needed to understand what is happening and collect evidence, develop the protocols, and even the legislators. And I'm happy that the data protection bill is being discussed and is about to come out. And maybe that corresponding changes will be made in other laws, or say CRPC and other even the cyber security policy which we have. So right from computer hacking to copyright infringements, the cyber stalking, even the distributed denial of services. So the various experts talk about it. The one of the important thing from our point of view, police point of view, and which is my point of concern, is that it is a sort of a virtual human trafficking which is also taking place, and the victim who is being trafficked does not really know that he is being trafficked or compromised. Rather, he is cooperating with because it is a virtual identity. So these are the different points which have been coming. The MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, therefore set up, I foresee, the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. They have also gone ahead with the public cyber volunteer schemes to start with, so that lots of experts could come in support. We have also come up with the national level computer emergency response team, because whenever a cyber crime takes place, as I said, detection is the best prevention. and we learn simultaneously that how these things are taking place. So multiple rapid deployment teams are there and at the national level, and it is all coordinated with the states. Then the states need to have a like we have the Bureau of Police Research and Development. Similarly, people are talking about cyber crime research and development body at the level of each state, and linked with the national level, what you call the CERT, the Computer and Emergency Response team, which we have formed. So interagency cooperation is must in this, and with each breach, we are learning how they are doing, because I said technology is self-subversive, and it's a journey and there's no finality. So the important today is the law enforcement powers to obtain digital evidence across the globe, and as I said, remotely accessing the computer. These are the important aspects. Now, insofar the management is concerned, people are talking and the experts are talking of simulated cybercrime scenarios, as we have the simulated in case of the physical crimes, we also have the simulation. Similarly, more simulations are needed to proactively prevent these type of attacks, and synchronized skill levels is the need of the hour. Now, having said that, if given this the time which we have right now, I will like to just concise my whole talk. Number one importance is the encryption technology, which helps us to prevent any type of breach. Educating the people on cybercrime, because education, awareness, that is important. Then, as I already spoke of the computer, research and development centers in every state. Universalization of the cyber law is another point. Then, encouraging people to report the crime. Australian model has said the onus on them, and this follows by a fine if there are certain conditions. So this is very important, because this is affecting the interest of everybody, since everybody has converged on the digital platforms. So these are certain areas, and I'm happy that such seminars being held, which increases the awareness. And when we start talking about it, we start thinking, realizing that yes, then there should be a national agency for aggregate data. Then aggregation of the data is another important. Speaking isolated will lead us to different conclusions, and aggregation of data has to be done by a national agency, so that different researchers and different experts who are analyzing and finding the ways out, or suggesting the preventive modules, they are in the control, or they are in a position to do that. So with this, I conclude my talk in this session. Any questions, I'll be happy to take. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to invite if any questions anybody has, like Sarah, or should I proceed further? Okay, proceed.
Further, Ayush?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Our next speaker for today's evening is Professor Maharaj K. Pandit. Professor Maharaj K. Pandit is a professor of environmental studies and the chief executive officer of the Institute of Eminence at the University of Delhi. He also holds the position of chairperson, Research Council, University of Delhi. Sir is a renowned scholar of Himalayan ecology, the environment, and sustainability. His work on the impact of dams on biodiversity and human communities was described as unparalleled elsewhere in the world by one of the reviewers. A consummate scholar, Professor Pandit is a rare combination of principle and practice of life sciences at interfaces. Many of his papers in highly influential journals such as Science and Nature cover topics from climate change, species range shifts, land use conversion and biological invasions, fisheries, and conservation as part of toolkit in diplomacy and international cooperation. Professor Pandit's approach to science and to the complexities of ecology and environment have contributed to his successes and influence. A popular teacher, Professor Pandit continues to be a global leader in research while also serving as a dean and chief executive officer at the University of Delhi. With this, I would like to invite Sir to enlighten us this evening. Thank you, sir. Sir, please. Sir. Sir, are you with us?
I saw him. He came once.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, maybe there is some technical glitch.
I think
there is some connectivity issue on the part of sir. Ayush, we can go ahead. Sir will join later.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So this brings us to the guest of honor for today's evening, Honorable Justice Arun Mishra, sir. Honorable Justice Arun Mishra, sir, is an eminent jurist, former judge of the.
मेरे ख्याल सॉरी पहले जस्टिस भनोट का है फिर एट द एंड वी विल हैव द आवर चीफ गेस्ट
ओके
सॉरी सर सॉरी
ओके मैम ओके मैम ऑनरेबल Justice Ajay Bhanot graduated in law from Lucknow University in the year 1994. Enrolled as an advocate on January the 15th, 1995, Sir practiced in civil, constitutional, tax service, and company law and criminal side at the Allahabad High Court. Sir also handled matters relating to environmental, industrial disputes, and other allied branches of law. Sir was counsel for the Government of India, standing counsel for the state of Uttar Pradesh, additional government advocate for the state of Uttar Pradesh, and other organizations like the Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission at different periods in time. Sir was designated as senior advocate by the Allahabad High Court on May the 23rd, 2015. Sir was appointed as an additional judge on September the 22nd, 2017, and took oath as a permanent judge on September 6, 2019. For that, I would like to invite Sir to enlighten us on today's evening. So,
good evening, my Lord Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, eminent colleagues on the panel, Mr. Maheshwari, Dr. Ashish Shrivastava, Mr. Talwar, Professor Rusha Tandon, Professor Ashutosh Mishra. It is indeed a great privilege to hear the panel of eminent experts. Their views were so comprehensive and virtually covered every aspect of the domain we are seeking to discuss, that had I been sitting on a bench, I would be tempted to simply end my address by saying, I agree. That's in legal parlance, my friends will understand that's what happens when a colleague of yours gives a very comprehensive judgment and you are on the bench with him and you simply say, I agree. So I will secure myself by saying that I agree with all the eminent panelists. I would like to compliment the organizers for having chosen a topic of current relevance and of great future importance. It is creation of intellectual capital today that will determine how we are able to deal with this challenge tomorrow. And I believe that this is one exercise by which we seek to create intellectual capital. Information technology has created an alternative world of existence. It has affected our personal lives, and most importantly, it has changed our traditional jurisprudence. Technological change is happening at a very rapid pace. I will be focusing more on legal institutions, as some of my colleagues have been addressing us on the technical aspects of the issue. It is the ability of the society to absorb the fruits of technology and to curb the menace of technological excesses that defines the challenge of cybersecurity. Now, if we look at the traditional working arrangement in a democratic society, we have three wings of government: legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, which theoretically create an equilibrium. That is, the legislature creates the laws, the judiciary interprets the laws, and the executive implements the laws. The pace of technology, and especially the advent of information technology, has disrupted this balance. Technology is moving at such a fast pace that very often the legislature is not able to cope with it. That creates some sort of a legislative lag. That is, we have what they call in law is a mischief without the law to regulate or govern it. Now, the consequence of that is issues reach the courts much before the legislature takes cognizance of them. And similarly, so that is one very critical change which is happening, where the courts will have to be dealing with issues where traditional concepts of jurisprudence are undergoing a radical transformation. So if we look at some examples, concepts of liberty, concepts of privacy, concepts of an offense. In law, we say that ignorance of law is no excuse. I like to recall an instance when, as a lawyer, I had an occasion to deal with a cyber crime because there was one young adult who had passed on some messages which were seen to be inflammatory. So I asked them, I said, why were you doing this? The reply was almost matter-of-factly. They said, we just keep exchanging messages on our groups. So that is how that transformation is taking place, and the job or the mandate of the legal fraternity is to keep pace with the technological advancement and to ensure that appropriate legal standards are built and institutions are equipped to deal with these challenges. For example, if we see criminal laws, we have a concept of a digital signature. Now that has been validated by the legislature. The introduction of evidence. We have some changes in our Evidence Act. As far as criminal laws are concerned, you have this concept of who will be the accomplice. Simple offenses get aggravated with the introduction of technology. A video taken in a very innocent or in an environment where there is no offensive content may, if circulated on the internet, may create an aggravated form of an offense. So these are all issues which all institutions face. So how do we grapple with these issues? How do we equip ourselves? That is the fundamental challenge. And as a person who's part of the legal fraternity, one of the things I realize is capacity building of institutions across the board. That includes the judges, that includes the investigative agencies, the police agencies. Law will have to adopt an interdisciplinary approach. That is, this interface. For example, we've had the benefit of hearing Dr. Ashish Shrivastava, who's a domain specialist, Mr. Talwar, who's again a domain specialist. Even the judges have to be equipped. There has to be a certain development of, as I said, intellectual capital by creating courses of knowledge if required, exposing them to the developments in technology, and to create an evolutionary jurisprudential system which can visualize these problems. And if these problems are being faced, the judges are well equipped and the lawyers are well equipped to address them. Seminars like these and workshops will go a long way in creating that domain understanding and the knowledge of problems that we are facing. Policing agencies will have to undergo a radical transformation because the concepts of investigation are undergoing a massive change. So as Mr. Maheshwari, an earlier speaker, had pointed out, that very often the police authorities and the investigative agencies have to make sure that they have the necessary skills to conduct the investigations and also the necessary knowledge of the evolving laws to ensure that the evidence which is collected is packaged in a manner that will hold out in courts. Similarly, the courts have to be equipped with basic, I'm not saying that judges and lawyers need to learn Boolean algebra or whatever very complex mathematics, but yes, certain aspects of information technology, as Dr. Shrivastava, he had brought out some very fascinating slides by virtue of that, a basic understanding of the domain. And then, for example, in law, you have the concept of jurisprudence. How is this going to impact the concept of jurisprudence, of accomplices in criminal law? So that can be developed simultaneously, and that is the job of academia. And I've always maintained that the distance from the temple of justice to the repository of knowledge cannot be very long. The institutions, now courses of instructions have to be created in all institutions of governance, whether it is the judiciary or the law enforcement or administration. And then a regular interface across institutions to share knowledge and interdisciplinary engagement. These are very critical areas which will determine and develop our ability to face this challenge. And I think that pretty much sums up what I wanted to say, because right now we have a long way, and that one aspect which is again going to get focused is in our Indian legal system is the autonomy of courts, because very frequently issues are going to arise at the levels of the courts which are at the trial level, and they'll have to move up. So the debate will have to be engendered bottom upwards. We will have to respect and exalt the autonomy of courts and curb centralizing tendencies in judicial thought. Of course, finality will come only if a widely autonomous judicial system brings up ideas and finally they crystallize into enduring propositions of law. That, I think, should be the likely course of legal debate in India. With this, I would just like they say in Hindi, वाणी को विराम देता हूं और आप सबका बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you so much, sir, for that enriching talk. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, with that, we move on to the guest of honor for today's evening, Honorable Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, sir. Honorable Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, sir, is an eminent jurist, former judge of the Supreme Court of India, and the current chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of India. After completing his BSc MA LLB, he joined the bar in 1978 and practiced in constitutional, civil, industrial, service and criminal matters. He was elected as the youngest chairman of the Bar Council, and after that, he was instrumental in drafting and implementation of foreign law degree recognition rules of 1997 under the Advocates Act of 1961. Bar Council of India employs Service Rules 1996 and the rules pertaining to foreign lawyers' condition of practice in India. He proposed the decision to close evening law colleges from 2000 in July by BCI for professional purposes, that is for entry to bar, and drafted All India Lawyers Welfare Scheme in 1998 and also proposed amendment to other welfare schemes of advocates. He was appointed the judge of the High Court of Madhya Pradesh on 25th October 1999 and the Chief Justice of the Rajasthan High Court on 26 November 2010. And he held that office till his appointment as the Chief Justice of the High Court at Calcutta on 14th December 2012. Justice Mishra was elevated as a judge of the Supreme Court of India on 7th of July 2014 and held that position till his superannuation on 2nd September 2020. During his tenure as the Supreme Court judge, he delivered 236 judgments, and few of them were truly iconic. During his tenure as the judge of the Supreme Court, his lordship presided over landmark judgments such as the Ram Janmabhoomi judgment and the judgment in Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma that actually amended the Hindu Succession Act and gave daughters equal rights to ancestral property with a retrospective effect. Especially in the Vinita Sharma case, one quote of his, that a daughter always remains a loving daughter, a son is a son until he gets a wife. That has become iconic. With that, I would like Sir to actually enlighten us with his talk and with his words.
Well, I join Ayush and take it as my honor to invite the chief guest of the occasion, His Lordship, Justice Mishra, to enlighten us. Please, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
I was not a part to the Ram Janmabhoomi's case. You see, you have to make one correction in your record.
Thank you, sir.
I start with congratulating the organizers of this international webinar. I heard the experts, the domain. Importance of the topic is utmost, because we are in the era of e-commerce. It is going to stay. E-commerce is going to stay. Economy of the country and vitality of the country is going to depend upon it. So we must have a stable, safe, and resilient cyberspace. It is absolutely necessary. And since it has become, cyberspace has become integral part of governance, and as cyber security is the topmost concern of the day, it has two pillars, as we know from the discussions which we had: technological innovations and its application by the end users, and legislation against the cyber crimes. We must have a principled approach towards the cyberspace. On the one hand, we must give total freedom of the cyberspace, but it is to be used. This space is for use, not for misuse. This space cannot be permitted to be used for committing crimes. This space cannot be permitted to be used for committing other offenses, various other offenses which we have, or to destroy the dignity of other, like in several modes, which is happening around today. Integrity of the information, confidentiality, and availability is absolutely necessary so as to make it a safe space, cyberspace. It is, as we know, it is a common pool for all, to be used by all and sundry. It has seen the phenomenal growth. It has 2.5 billion users as on today. It harbors more individuals than in any other single country in the world. So cyberspace is having its own problem. There are various issues: cyber crime, cyber contact, data protection, multiple challenges are there. It is absolutely necessary to have legislative regime for providing stringent penalty in the case of misuse of this space. Unless we give this credibility to the cyber space by having stringent laws, penal laws, we cannot have innovations in the field. People will be dissuaded slowly if this misuse goes on of the cyber space to use it any further, so that it is necessary to have further innovation, as was pointed out by Mr. Deepak Talwar, that security of transaction is necessary for innovations also. It is absolutely necessary that there should be security of transactions. Otherwise, innovations will stop. This cyber space, which has given the world so much, but it is taking at the same time huge amount of reputation, money, and everything. It is being used as a tool for stealing the information, taking ransom, and so many other crimes are happening around. People are dying due to this misuse of this space. It is being misused like anything. Children are being subjected to, they are being forced to commit suicide or to die during the games. You see, this we have to stop at one go. There has to be law, so much is firm law about it, that we will not permit this kind of user. Child pornography will not permit. When China can stop, why the entire world cannot stop this pornography, child pornography and other offenses, loading of this, you see, videos and other objectionable material which are taken by force or other illicit manner, illegal manner. So when we see that there is use and misuse of cyberspace, the government has to come forward with the policies which are well defined. Still, I feel that there's lack of proper policy making in this field. Now we are waiting for the data protection bill and the 21 exercise, which is eagerly awaited now. So burden is on the state to ensure that this space becomes safe, and no doubt constitutional provisions are there, right to human dignity, right to privacy is there, as well as we find United Declaration of Human Rights also includes the similar rights, there's right to freedom of speech and information under our constitution, as well as under International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. But this covenant, international covenant itself says that this, as in our constitution, this liberty is never absolute. It is totally a wrong impression taken by so many persons that international covenant permits its misuse. It says that you have to work on it more responsibly, as I said. When you are using cyberspace, there is no prior, filter on it. You have to be very responsible. Otherwise, you have to be punished in accordance with law, and restrictions are there which should be prescribed by law, as is the provision in our constitution, Article 19 also. Freedom of speech has never been absolute for anybody. International covenant also says that cyberspace freedom is also not absolute. So it is a totally wrong understanding that whatever we can say, write, or do anything on cyberspace, defame anybody, upload anybody's obscene figure, this video or that video which is taken out, or even commission of offense. You are committing an offense, you are filming it and uploading it. These serious kind of offenses these are. We have to have very safe regime in case this cyberspace has to remain. You see, only 4% of its internet is used, and 96% is for dark web. So that is a matter of concern. We have to care for it. We have to hit upon it. We have to exclude the misuse of this 96% of the cyberspace, which is being used by the attackers, hackers, and so many which the ways which the expert speakers have spoken. I'm really happy that they are working on it. It is for the scientists to develop the such software which are foolproof. Innovations have to be made. This phenomena is going to stay. Since violation affects the right of privacy and causes trauma to individual and destroy the dignity, revenge porn also being seen, and then international extortion rackets, cryptocurrencies was pointed out is being used in while taking ransom, hate, and enemy countries are also using it. Hostile nations are using, hackers are using, hack activists are, criminals are using. So we have to be very careful in drafting the laws, and law should be stringent, and we should have such a regime that our police is able to investigate. Cybercrime court are friendly with are aware. Every internet user, not only internet, your internet is used now not only on laptop or computers. It is several ways. You have mobile, so many things you see on which internet is accessible. So as it has spread like anything, we have to see that it's as it was rightly pointed out in the beginning by Dr. Usha Tandon that it has the nuclear power. It has to be used for the purpose of construction, not for destruction. Constructive mind has to be there. Positivity has to be there. No negativity should be there in this. That we have to ensure by working and by providing more safe atmosphere. That is the function of because there are so many attacks. So secrecy of the information, sensitive information should not be stolen. Government defense is not attacked. India has taken an initiative about the Cyber Surakshit Bharat launched by the government, but a lot is required to be done in achieving the success even of this program. There are various challenges and constantly evolving risks. New methods are being adopted every day for committing cyber crimes. Lack of cyber security awareness is also there. As we know, investigating agency, there was clear confession made and rightly by the previous speaker that police is not able to investigate these cases because of lack of knowledge, awareness, and there is shortage of cyber experts. And rightly, Talwar pointed out that specialization, super specialization should be there in this field. So I endorse that view. It is absolutely necessary. And there are cyber laws in India, like Information Technology Act, but somehow these laws seem to be ineffective. Government should make a policy in such a way that basic human rights are safeguarded. Right to dignity is a basic human right, without which one cannot live. Right of privacy should be protected at all cost. Consent and technology need to be coupled with analysis of legal, ethical position and practices. I am happy that to know that in our country, with respect to cyber security, which is based on 5 parameters, was ranked at 47th in the world. Now it came up in 2020 at the 10th position with respect to cyber security. That is a good achievement which India has made. It is progressing in this field. During Corona period, world stood together due to this cyber space and its proper use. Now we cannot just say that cyber space is not helpful for us. It is of immense help for gaining knowledge, for learning, for e-commerce, speedy transactions, exchange of knowledge. Every material you see, every file can be downloaded, every rare book can be downloaded. This is something very unusual phenomena which we are facing as on today, that we have not to go to the market for purchasing the books and all that. We can have access any book. There is a knowledge bank, you see, but it is only in 4%. That is confined to 4%. The remaining 96% we have to care for. I once again congratulate the organizers because we have already exceeded the time. I should not take any further, though one speaker was not there, otherwise 10 minutes more would have been there. So I thank Dr. Talwar, other experts, those who have, Anand, Maheshwari and others who have joined, Ashish, and those who addressed us and enriched our knowledge. And it was rightly pointed out by Dr. Justice Ajay that we have to be aware of, we should know, we should learn how to use this space more effectively, and it should be, court should be more friendly. I endorse all the views of Justice Bhanot and other speakers. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Ma'am Kislia Soni ma'am for vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. A very warm good evening. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion on behalf of Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, Institute of Cyber Security and Law, University of Delhi, and Delhi School of Public Policy and Governance, IOE, University of Delhi, and I, on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all speakers for sharing their opinions and experience on cybersecurity with us today. First of all, I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, respected and honorable Mr. Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, sir, for sparing his valuable time for his busy schedule. For sparing his valuable time from his busy schedule and enlighten us from his noble thoughts and legal views on cybersecurity in information technology era. He is a prominent jurist of the country. Justice Mishra sir has pronounced number of landmark decisions in the field of human rights, democracy, rule of law, and independence of judiciary. Sir has been very instrumental. Sir has given very instrumental decisions on severe social, on several socio-economic and political dimensions of the nation. Today, sir has shared his valuable thoughts and his experienced view on the pertinent issues of cybersecurity in India and world. Thank you so much, sir. I must mention a deep sense of appreciation for Honorable Mr. Justice Ajay Bhanot, sir, a guest of honor, for sparing time from his busy schedule for enlightening us on the present challenges of the cybersecurity. Justice Bhanot is an acclaimed scholar and has pronounced judgments in the areas of good governance, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. I also like to express a sincere thanks to Professor Maharaj K. Pandit, sir. He is the backbone and CEO of the Institution of Eminence, University of Delhi.
I think
sir,
in absentia.
Yes, in absentia. Yes, ma'am. Sir needs no introduction in this academic world. You are an inspiring academician and contributed heavily in the field of ecology, climate change, and Himalayan studies. Sir has been a distinguished professor in the Harvard University and other renowned universities. I'm also sincerely thankful to Sri A.P. Maheshwari, sir. He's more of an academician rather than a police officer. Sir has played very significant role in police reforms, especially in the field of artificial intelligence and cyber crime. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. I sincerely like to thank Deepak Talwar, sir, for accepting our invitation and enlightening us on the contemporary challenges to cybersecurity. I extend my gratitude to Sri Ashish Srivastava, sir, for joining the webinar and sharing his views and experiences on the issue of cyber law. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record a hearty thanks to Professor Dr. Usha Tandon, Dean and Head, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, please, for her continuous encouragement and motivation to all the young colleagues, research scholars and students in all spheres of our academic pursuits. Ma'am is an acclaimed academician in the field of environmental law. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enormous support during the organizing of this event. And without your support, it would be very tough to organize such a successful event. I also like to thank and express my gratitude to the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Information Technology, which made it mandatory to create an awareness regarding the cybersecurity and law among the students and societies. I extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Ashutosh Mishra, sir, the webinar director, for his encouragement, guidance, and support at every stage to make this event successful. Sir has conceptualized this webinar and made all the necessary arrangements. Thank you so much, sir. Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues like Dr. Ajay Sonavne from Faculty of Law, who worked rigorously for making this webinar in this present form, our student committee members for their untiring efforts. Finally, I convey my warm thanks to all the audience for the significant presence in this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Justice Mishra, sir, Justice Vinod, sir, and all other experts. So thank you so much. Apart from whatever formal vote of thanks was extended.
Yes, except for everything, except for tea, exchanging a cup of tea. I think virtual reality has created a lot. That is one area which I feel.
That's why she's speaking at the last now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your choice.